Hey everybody, welcome to Beach Theory. Today we've got a fun, awesome adventure episode for you, but I have a disclaimer. Okay. First of all, I just want to say, I hope in hearing all these stories, to those who have listened from the beginning, I hope you don't think that we're terrible people. I feel like some of these stories that we've told paint us in a very imperfect picture, and it's just a very real picture of how we were at that time in our life.
Totally.
And I think that YouTube's amazing because it allows us to kind of edit our life.
And make us look amazing.
And make us look way better than we actually are. And so I just hope none of you guys are like, oh my gosh, these are the worst people ever.
I thought they were good.
I'm not going to listen to them anymore. Right. So just a disclaimer, we're not perfect. We don't profess to be perfect.
Yeah.
But we have learned some
Part
lessons.
of the reason why we wanted to do this, because we feel like sometimes on YouTube, it makes us look too unrealistic. It's not even real.
Right.
And so we're like, well, let's talk about that.
Yes. So
Shout out to Good Mythical Morning.
To any of you who are still watching and following us despite our imperfections, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for appreciating us just for who we are and through our efforts to try to be transparent and hopefully inspirational and educational, and maybe you can learn something from our mistakes and our journey. But
learn from our mistakes. Don't make the same ones.
But just love us anyway, even
or
though
make the
we're
same
not
ones,
great.
but learn how to work through them.
So anyway, I think that needed to be said, especially in this episode, because we did some not very smart things when we were first married.
What are you thinking that wasn't smart specifically?
And maybe I can't speak for you, but in today's episode, we're going to talk about how we took our young 4-month-old child and went to go live in the wilderness primitively.
Yes.
For the entire summer. So I think that the
good
reason...
times. Just kidding. It wasn't good times. It was hard.
To speak to mooching, we were living in my dad's house in Utah.
Yep.
And then at the end of the semester... James was a few months old.
And they wanted to move back in.
So they wanted to move back in with us.
And we wanted to have our own privacy, newly married couple with a baby.
It just became uncomfortable.
So we moved out and we moved into an apartment complex, actually, first.
Did we really?
Yes.
Well, I thought we spent the whole summer in Oregon.
It was May, I think, that we left or that...
No, you're right.
Yeah, we lived in an apartment complex for 2 months.
You're right. You are right.
And
so we didn't spend the whole summer in Oregon. We didn't.
Oh.
We only spent part of the summer in Oregon.
I think it was 2 months.
Wow, that's really weird because I remember it being longer.
Oh, it felt like at least double the amount of time that it actually was because of how hard it was.
Yeah, we had a little bit of leftover money, I think, from our Pell Grant or whatever.
Yeah.
We went to live in Provo at an apartment complex.
Yes.
And I started doing door-to-door sales.
a different
company.
Oh my goodness. I was like...
It was called Black Tie Research.
Yeah, it was a new little startup company that...
It was weird.
Yeah, it would give out coupons or stuff.
We just did surveys and then it was actually really smart.
Surveys and coupons.
To be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Even still, I'm like, man, this is brilliant. But we just ask people a series of questions.
Yeah.
Have you ever been interested in learning how to have your own food storage? And then they'd be like, yes. And I'd just check the mark box, yes. And then after that, we would contact the company that was interested, and then they'd show up at their house and do a demonstration.
It was just a really hands-on way of getting companies connected with customers.
That were interested.
That were actually interested in what they had to offer.
So I did that for a few weeks or a month or something, and that was really hard, and I didn't do a very good job.
And the company kind of fell apart too.
Yeah.
It wasn't really just you. It was also the company was a new company, and I
remember we were having a hard time getting paid.
What they were doing. Yeah, the paychecks weren't really coming, even though the work was being done. Right. So it was kind of like...
That was discouraging. And I think we were at a point where we're like, okay, we're desperate. We have no money. We don't have anything that we can do.
Well, actually, I remember the conversation. We were in front of, I think this was before school ended.
Okay.
We were in front of the activity center at Snow College, and you were like, hey, the summer before I met you, I worked all summer at my mom's property up in Oregon, and I loved it. It was so much fun, and I just got so much work done, and I loved going to bed when the sun went down and getting up when the sun came up and seeing the stars at night and living in a tent. It was so much fun. And I was like, thinking, I have a new baby and that sounds really hard. And he was like, no, it wasn't hard. It was good. It was good. Like, you would love it. And I just want to experience that so badly. Like, please come and support me. Like, just support me. Let's do this and let's have fun and let's just try it.
I think
we don't have to do it forever. We just have to try it for the summer.
And I think another big draw for me was, you know, I had spent 2 years on my mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I was away from my family that entire time.
Yes.
And then after my mission, I went to Oregon to be with my family.
But he had left from his mission to go on his mission from Florida.
Well, right.
Because his family moved halfway through his mission from Florida to Oregon.
We were living in Florida before my mission.
And now they live in both places.
I've still not been back to Florida yet at this point in our life. But I was just kind of missing my family. Like, I saw them after my mission. We saw them in November when we went for Thanksgiving, and then they came for our wedding in May, and then I hadn't seen them since.
Yeah.
And I was kind of feeling like I want to be around my family a little bit.
Yep.
And there's an opportunity to earn some money.
We had been around my family a lot by this point.
Yeah. So I was like, let's go spend the summer in Oregon. Yep. I know it's not going to be very comfortable, but you know, we can make it work. There's a yurt on the property. We'll have a crib for Court James. And so I convinced you to go. And
James was 4 months old.
It was really hard.
We went to the property. It was also not only just for those ideas, but we had the idea that we would work for Michael's parents.
We'd both be working,
and we would be able to make and save
a lot of money,
some money. You know, like it was always like, I think our moves were always related to jobs too. You know, like
because we were
whatever we were doing wasn't working. We were hungry still. We still needed a roof over our head. I don't know why. But that was just something that it was always kind of, okay, this isn't working. Let's reevaluate. Let's do something crazy. Yeah. At that point, it was always, let's do something crazy and different.
Yeah.
Like, we have, Michael very much at that time, too, was like his dad, Mark. He was like, he really wanted adventure in his life. And even though he really wanted to be married and have a child and have a family, it was almost like he equally wanted to have adventure and go on trips and go see things. Now we're finally doing it. But at the time, he's like, man,
I just got bored really quickly.
Yeah, he really did. He's like, having a baby has really slowed us down. Like, it was kind of a big inconvenience.
Yeah.
If we were not thinking like eternal perspective, it was like, this is inconvenient. This is hard.
Like
we can't do what we want.
I wanted to have a family, but I didn't want to do the work to get there. I wanted to be able to also have the
freedom.
It's
like he wanted the family, but he didn't want the responsibility of it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Obviously, very naive mindset.
We were just very young.
So that's why I say, don't think less of me for my
don't think less
immaturity
of him.
And childishness of mind. Because
think of how great he is right now. That's because of these experiences he's gone through.
I've learned a lot.
So.
Yep, learned a lot. And you've learned a lot.
Yeah, both of us have.
I remember after that summer, you were like, never again.
I will not live in the wilderness.
You learned how to stand up for what you want and how to make it happen.
Before that, I was like, I need to be a supportive wife to my husband. Like, it was, we were just getting used to being married. We still had only been married
a year.
Not even
just barely a year.
1 year. 1 year.
Yeah.
And so that was like, oh my goodness.
And we
had been married for 1 year and I was just
we were married for 1 year. We had a kid. No college, hardly any college education, no money.
And I was just like, I need to be supportive of my husband. He really wants this adventure, and I'm not craving adventure, but whatever. Let's sure he had a lot of fun doing it, or else he wouldn't really, really, really want to do it so badly. But I think I couldn't get it into his head that, hey, things are different now. We have a baby.
Right.
You're married. Like, it's not going to be the same. But he was just like, it's going to be great. You're going to love it. It's going to be amazing. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And I was just like, okay, let's do it.
So we moved to the wilderness.
And that was after the apartment that we lived in and did that weird survey job.
Yeah. We were there for a couple months.
It was just like 2 months or something. Not too long.
No. And we were in Oregon, I think, for probably another 2 months. Probably like a July and August.
It was 2 months. Yep. Yeah. 2 months of the hardest 2 months of my life, I think.
So Just to describe the property. So if you're not familiar with Oregon, just imagine rolling mountains covered in trees.
30 acres or 50 acres or something?
30, I think it was like 33 acres my mom owned.
Yeah.
But it was like literally logging territory. They just cut down all the trees for harvest.
And the trees grow so fast and the foliage just grows so fast that like you could set something down one summer in the middle of an open field that you've chopped down, and the next summer you would lose it because it was just so thick.
There were blackberry vines everywhere,
which was kind of cool because it's like you could live off the land.
So this is in Cottage Grove in Oregon, just next to Cottage Grove if you want to look it up
in the wilderness
on like Google Maps. But it was like middle of nowhere, no cell phone reception, no running water,
no electricity,
no plumbing, literally the middle of nowhere.
No cell phone service.
Nope. And so what we would do
is real house. There was a yurt. If you want to see a picture of the yurt, I think we have a picture of the yurt.
A yurt is like a nice tent, circular.
It's kind of like a
nice tent,
wooden framed tent.
Yeah.
That's
and it had a bed, and so we slept on the bed.
And it had mice and rats, and
we'd find mice poop.
A weird stove that we never used because we found out after they built it that the kerosene or something would hurt you the more you breathe the air that you burned. Yes. And it was kind of a abandoned building that was used when they first bought that property, and that was the place they were living, but they were building a kind of newer dwelling. I wouldn't even say a house, it was a dwelling.
Yeah.
A primitive dwelling, no electricity, no running water.
My mom called it the snail shell.
Yes.
And it was like a circular form, but it kind of came out.
Yes.
In the middle.
In a snail shell form. Shape.
Yes. And we'd cut down trees and we'd haul hay. Oh, we made cob.
Them. Yes.
So it was
that was fun.
It was a cob house. So we would take sand and clay and straw and water, and we'd put it on a big tarp. Sorry, I bumped your mic.
That's okay.
We put it on a big tarp, and then we'd stomp on it with bare feet.
It was very, very primitive, but also it was
kind of therapeutic and fun. Yeah. Like I actually really enjoyed it. I liked
doing that too.
Oh, and you learned how to make a fire.
Yes.
That summer. With a bow drill.
Yep.
Because my mom is
She's very hippie-ish.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. No offense if my mom's listening to this. I don't know if she will.
I think she would agree. I do. I'm not saying anything I don't think she would say about herself.
She's just very all natural, live off the land, hugging the trees.
Totally.
Like, but I like that. Like, there's nothing wrong. I think that's cool.
That's why you wanted to be there.
And it feels very peaceful. Like,
yes.
There's something fun about being in nature and living in nature.
Let me ask you a question.
So hang on.
Oh, okay.
Before you progress, I want to talk about you building a fire.
All I remember is that I learned how to build a fire.
So if you're not familiar with a bow drill, you've got like a couple pieces of wood and a spindle.
Yeah, a spindle and 2 pieces of wood.
And you've got a bow.
A bow that
just
has
like a bow and arrow. It's like
a string on it.
A bended piece of wood with a string connecting it.
Yep.
And then you wrap the spindle around the string, and then you get on your knees and you just kind of rock it back and forth really, really fast with the bow.
And on one side you have soap that lubricates the top.
The top of the spindle.
It doesn't burn. And
then the bottom of the spindle has a little notch with a piece of...
where you're supposed to burn through.
Right. And then the notch has like some...
it makes a tiny coal the more you rub the wood together.
Right. Some moss or something that burns really easily. Yep. And so, and then you have to like go really, really fast, and then you have to get down and you have to blow it and get the coal going.
It's very labor intensive, but
and then you get
it's
the coal.
So worth it when you get a fire.
And you put it inside some like dry leaves.
Yes.
Then you hold it like a little baby and you just blow until the smoke goes, and then it just bursts into flames, and you just built a fire using a bow drill, and you did it. And I was so proud of you.
Really?
Yeah.
I did a lot of things that summer that you were very proud of, I think.
And making the cob, and we built an oven, like a sand earth oven.
Yep.
To be able to cook
kind of like a pizza oven, kind of like that.
But that was really cool. Like, I don't know. Like, I know it was really hard being in the woods and having the baby, and we can talk about that.
Yes.
But I also want to say that there were some good things.
There were some good things, and there were some good hard lessons. Okay, I want to ask you the question now.
Okay.
What did you expect it to be like versus what it really was like? What was it really like to you? What was reality versus your expectation?
I think that my expectation was that we would work a lot, but I guess the only thing I didn't expect was just how hard it was going to be with a baby.
Mm-hmm.
with James.
Which adds to, you remember that feeling of, we talked about in the last episode, of feeling like it was an inconvenience. Once we had the baby, we wanted it. We wanted to have a baby. We wanted James. We wanted to be a family, but it was an inconvenience still to just be parents, to just be in control, to be
I think the hardest part was he was like 5 or 6 months old at this point. He was
4 months old.
So he was born in February, March, April, May, June, July. So if we went there in July, he was 5.
We were there in June.
June and July. Mm-hmm. So he's 4 to 5 months.
Yep.
And that age, a baby wants to be on their floor. They want to be kind of scooting around.
He needed to be experiencing belly time, but that was not an option there.
I think that was the hardest part, was there was literally no clean, safe place that we could lay him so that he could just
mice
play.
Everywhere, rats everywhere, snakes, gophers, like there were all sorts of animals. It was the wilderness.
Yeah. And that was really hard because we couldn't let our baby just play like a baby.
There wasn't even a place to like go wash clothes. Like that wasn't, or blankets. Like the cleanliness that you would expect and need at that time of having a 4-month-old, that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
That wasn't possible there. Right. Like it just wasn't.
And it was frustrating for both of us.
It was frustrating because I think you were like, this is what I want. And this was really a great experience for me last time. And then when it came to reality, it wasn't fun for me. I was very unhappy.
Right.
James was unhappy because he was not able to progress. He wasn't progressing as quickly as he would have had he had a nice clean house with clean blankets to put on the floor and let the baby play.
And you know how we would use the bathroom up there? We had a 5-gallon bucket. And we had a pile of sawdust, and you'd use the bathroom in the bucket.
Yep.
And then you'd cover it with sawdust.
Yep.
And
like a cat.
Right?
Wow.
That was
move my legs.
Every time you'd use the bathroom, that's what you did. And to get a shower, we would drive about 15 minutes.
This is the like it just wasn't working. Like
there was a campground about 15 minutes away, and we'd pull up.
It was impractical. This whole thing was impractical. That's the best word to describe it.
We'd pull off to the side of the road. We'd hop the fence. We'd walk up to the bathrooms at the campsite. We'd use their showers. And we did that about once a week. Or
hop the fence.
A couple times a week.
To use a cold shower in a campsite.
And I remember one time holding James and showering him and me in the bathroom. Because that was our only option. And we'd go get water. At the park, they had water spigots, and so we'd fill up these jugs of water.
Jugs.
And there was
no showers except for once a week. So I guess in my mind, camping for 1 week, that's one thing. Camping for 2 months, and camping, there's no electricity, no running water.
I think we were only at the property for about 1 month.
Yes,
because
it was that impractical.
Someone from our church. You were talking to her, or
I was talking to somebody in the ward that we were going to at that time, and they were like, "We need a house sitter," and I was like,
"We need a house."
Sign me up. Like, that's right. This is not okay.
That was Marshall, the girl that Marshall was dating at the time. Yes. My brother Marshall was dating this girl, and her family was leaving.
But I think it was only like a 2-week house sit or something.
We were only there for, I think it was less than a week.
Might have been.
But we got so comfortable being in the house that another family in the ward said, "Hey, we have a spare bedroom. Yes. You guys can come stay in our bedroom." And we were like,
"Thank you. We will not do this again." Like, I think that that was another time where I think Michael truly was expecting it to be such an awesome experience. To have experienced it one way when he was single, and then to take his family back so that they could experience the same happiness he felt when he was there. That's what he was expecting. That's what he wanted.
That's not what I got.
Not what happened. I was so unhappy. I was complaining every single day. This is not okay. This is not okay. I need to be able to bathe the baby. I need to be able to lay him down on the ground. I need running water. I need electricity.
And I agreed with you. Like, I recognized that it was not working.
And yet, sometimes in our marriage, when things haven't been working, we still are like, well, we have to stay for...
Let's push through it. Let's make it happen anyway.
We have to stay for 2 more weeks, or we have to
But, it's a good thing we have that attitude sometimes. Because there have been some things that if we didn't have that, like, iron will.
Yeah. YouTube, that wouldn't be.
We wouldn't be where we are today without that iron will.
But at that time, with that specific thing, I think that we should have rethought it about a week in, probably.
Right.
That probably would have been the best move.
We learned a lot.
But we had also like agreed to work for your mom. So she was expecting workers, expecting help. And some of her older kids were growing up and leaving the house, and she wasn't getting that help that she needed or wanted to make her dreams come true on the property. So, that was...
Someone just liked our last podcast. I just got a notification.
That's so cool.
Thanks, you guys.
So, anyways, I was very unhappy. We had a lot of discussions about how unhappy I was. And you were unhappy because I was unhappy and because of the inconvenience.
There's nothing worse than having this grand idea and vision of what this amazing experience will be, and then having everyone just absolutely hate it. And
not hate you for it, but take it out on you, saying, "Hey, you have to do something about it." Because I had left
it personal.
Well, because I had left that decision up to you. You were the one that wanted it so badly.
Right.
So when I agreed to it, I also wanted you to be the one to decide not to do it anymore, or else you would have felt
resentful
that I never got to do that thing I wanted to do.
Right.
And I feel like that's not fair. What?
Oh, I just had an idea, but maybe not. Never mind.
Well, that's the worst thing to say to me.
Well, okay, so it doesn't really matter. But
now you want to go back to the property?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Well, no, I was just thinking, because do you remember the other day we were talking about me and James and Corbin like going on a trip or doing something
well,
fun?
they would love it now.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Well, but then again, I'm like, every time we go to Oregon, Corbin gets allergies so bad that we go to the hospital.
We always end up at the hospital every single time, James and Corbin.
And plus, my mom's not even on the property anymore, so.
Yeah, she bought a house. It was too hard. It was even hard on her.
Yeah.
It was hard on the whole family. Everybody that lived there didn't really live there. Yeah. They survived there. Yeah. And it was hard.
But we learned a lot.
So ultimately, you came to the same conclusion I did. I came to that conclusion within a week. You came to that conclusion within a month and a half. So.
I had to let it run its course, I guess.
You did. He's always been like that. He's so stubborn. But it's good.
But you love me still.
I still love you. And I think that that's what makes you you and why we've succeeded in a lot of ways. But
you're stubborn too.
Oh, I'm very stubborn.
In a lot of ways. And sometimes you get it in your mind that you're going to do this thing no matter how like inconceivable and difficult it's going to be. You're like, I'm going to push through and get out of my way. If you're not going to help me, get out of my way. Like, you do that too.
Is there something you're thinking about specifically?
Absolutely.
What?
Do you remember when you wanted to enter the Maker Disney Creator Conference?
Yes.
And you were like, I'm going to make this video and it's going to be amazing. And I was
so
like,
many things
really
got in the way. And
right?
So many people were like, oh no, that's not a very good idea. You're not going to win.
And you pushed
guess
through.
What? I won.
That's right.
I won a trip to Disney World, and we
with a bunch of other YouTubers.
Signed with Maker Studios because of that.
Spoilers. Yeah, spoiler.
Yes,
this is
right.
But that's the point that I'm trying to make is you're the same way with things that you are passionate about as I am with things that I'm passionate about.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think the lesson that we've learned is to choose our battles. Like, we're still going to be driven. We're still going to work hard and never give up on our dreams.
Yes.
But we are going to make sure that that's realistic.
Also, I should also mention that I think both me and Michael have come to the conclusion that he does better with older kids.
Yeah.
He enjoys it more, and it's more natural for him to take care of older kids. Yeah. Babies frustrate him. He loves them.
Because they're not
Don't get me wrong. Babies, he loves babies. But he's not like the typical, oh, let me hold them. Oh, I think they're so cute. You know, like, he's just kind of like, oh, that baby looks like a lot of work. Let me take care of older kids that can understand my instructions.
Yeah, it's true.
So, like, that's another thing. Like, in our marriage, we've just both come to realize and know that, like, I do better with babies.
You have different strengths and weaknesses, and I have different strengths. And
that's okay. And it's okay.
And they complement each other.
There's nothing wrong with that as long as we're both okay with it.
Right.
And we are. So it's good.
But it's great because sometimes there's things that I'm really good at that you hate doing.
Yeah.
And it works out. So I just
all the computer stuff, he does that. Mowing the lawn, I do that.
Because you like it.
I like it. And he likes the computer stuff. If they're squishing a spider, he hates that. I hate it too, but I do it anyway because I'm tougher than him.
Whatever.
I'm just kidding.
So, and I love doing homeschool with the kids.
Yeah.
And
but
so
I never agreed to do homeschool. In fact, I was adamantly against doing homeschool, but he went out because he's like, I'm willing to do the work of homeschool. And I was like,
pay a tutor.
Now we're paying a tutor.
But for the first many years, it was always me with the kids. And I mean,
and it was just so funny because
kids are smart.
Anytime we were like, oh yeah, our kids are homeschooled, the moms always come up to me and say, oh, so what do you do?
How do you do it?
How do you do it? Especially with all your YouTube. And I'm just like, I don't. My husband does.
Surprise!
Surprise! He's the homeschool guy in our family. We're just not typical.
We are not the typical mold.
We've always done things differently from the very beginning.
We homeschool our kids. We both work from home together on projects, making videos for
even
the
with
world.
YouTube. When we first started YouTube, we had so many people that were like, "What are you doing with your life? What are you doing?" And they would actually come up to us and say, "I am worried for you."
Yeah.
And you're doing something that is crazy, and none of the things that you've done up to this point have worked. Like, to our face.
Yeah.
And it was out of concern and out of love, but it also was really one of those things that was patronizing and made us feel like, we'll show you. Mm-hmm. We'll show you. We're going to do this.
And boy, have we.
Yeah!
I feel like I want to give you a high five right now.
Yes!
Because you're amazing. And we wouldn't be where we are today without you.
And you.
Right.
Both, honestly, we work together so well. But it's
been an evolution.
But it has been so not typical of the common relationship, I guess.
From the beginning of our marriage, I think I was pretty clear that I wanted to be able to work and be around the kids a lot. Like, I wanted to be very involved in their life.
Well, and you were also very clear that you did not feel that it was fair if I only had one baby to take care of, or if I didn't have the same workload as you.
Right.
And I was always like, hey, this is what I said I wanted before we were married.
Right.
So that was always something. Literally up until we had 3 kids, he was always kind of like, you're not pulling your weight. You're not doing enough.
Once the house is clean when I get home from work, you're slacking.
And I was just like, you have no idea how it is having a baby and a toddler.
I think here's the distinction though. You manage the kids much differently than I do.
I do. And I'm satisfied with different things than you are, and vice versa.
Right. And so when I take the kids on a trip and it's just me and the kids, they never cry and whine.
He says these things.
It is absolutely 100% true.
But the thing is, we just are okay being different parents.
Right.
We just do it differently. And he does not think I do a good enough job a lot of the time.
But you...
And I think he's too strict sometimes.
Right.
So I guess that's the compromise. That's one thing that we've both been like, well, that's how it is. Because I'm not going to change you. You think you're right.
I am right.
And you're not going to change me because I think I'm right.
And that's okay.
Ta-da! That's how we work together.
But we've had to learn that through lots and lots of discussions and trial and error.
And our version of fights. We're never hitting or kicking or screaming at each other. Like, never. But we do debate. And that's our version of fighting. And
then we compromise.
Yeah.
And we come to an agreement. Like with homeschool, that was a lot of debating before she finally said, fine, compromise. You do the homeschool with the kids and I'll let you do it. And
because I liked public school. It was, other than I did bad at my grades, I loved the social aspect of public school.
Right.
And I thought it was very important. And now our kids are getting a lot of social, but it's a completely different kind of world for them than it is for us. They're famous.
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And they get to interact with other YouTubers mostly. It's mostly other YouTubers and their kids because they relate the best with them.
Yeah.
And I feel like, they can understand each other a little better. And there's something else with kids, and that is, I don't know how it would be in this world with them going to public school because they would...
It's a much different world now than it was when you were a kid.
Well, not only is it a different world, but we are raising them being well known and famous, and I would be concerned if they were at public school, that they would have real friends.
Right.
Or if they would have friends that would
only like them because they're famous or whatever.
Are hoping for 15 minutes of fame, or you know what I mean? Like,
I totally know.
It's weird. This is weird.
Yeah.
We did not expect this as a problem. You know what I mean? Like,
and I also wasn't planning on talking about this in today's podcast.
No, we weren't.
So that just kind of evolved that way. Well, I think that wraps things up for the summer in the woods.
If you want to hear more about us and our parenting during YouTube life, then comment below and tell us if you want to hear more about that.
Stay tuned, because we'll be talking about that for sure later on.
Yep.
But next week's episode, we are going to be talking about going to Florida.
Yes.
Because I hadn't gotten my fill of being with my family, I guess. We went back to Utah for one more semester that fall. Yes. And then around Christmas time, we went to Florida. And we'll talk all about that next time. So stay tuned.
One thing to mention before we go. The one lesson that was really hard that I didn't even want to learn, or still wouldn't want to learn this to this day, about going to Oregon and living in the wilderness, was that all of my expectations of what I wanted to be like as a parent with a 4-month-old or a baby were kind of ripped away from me in a way. I feel like that was kind of taken, or that because of what I chose to agree to, it just didn't happen the way that I wanted to. And that has been good and bad. And I can talk more about that in the next episode when we talk about the yard sale where I sold all of our belongings pretty much, and especially all of our wedding gifts. And that was really hard on me. So stay tuned for the next episode where we talk about that.
Make sure to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube to Beach Theory. And if you're listening, you can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Anchor. And leave us some comments of if you have any questions about the summer that we maybe didn't get into. If you want to know more about it,
there was a lot more to it, honestly, and I could talk about it literally for a couple of hours because it was just.
Did we leave something out?
I don't know.
Unless you just want to complain.
It's more like that. It's more like that. Let's be honest. I just want to. It was something that I still have like animosity towards.
A little bit of ADHD, or what's it called? PTSD.
Yeah. No, really. Like, that's serious.
Well, this part of our life was really trying and challenging. And, dating and marriage was all fun and exciting and lovey-dovey. But after we got married, the reality of life set in and it got really hard.
Yep.
And it wasn't all fun and games anymore. Nope. So, but I think we still had some really good times.
Definitely. Yeah, and we learned a lot.
I'll try to remember those.
So we're going to talk about what happened after that in the next episode.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.